Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara. Today you'll notice that I am back in my normal filming space. I am back home in the UK and I have to say I'm very happy and relieved to be back. I had a great time generally in the States. It was a really fun couple of weeks, particularly in New York. Vegas, glad I went there. Do I think I will ever go there again? Not unless somebody drags me there. I don't think I'm going to be going back anytime soon. It's not my favourite place in the world. Have to say I ate a lot of really good food there, but otherwise, not my scene. Definitely not my scene. So I'm glad now that I'm back at least for a couple of weeks in the UK, and then I will be traveling again. More on that to come soon. But for now, I'm quite happy to be back in my UK bubble, even though the sky is constantly grey and it's always cold. Today, I'm going to be talking about the fantasy books that I'm most excited about that are coming out in the year of 2025. One of the books on this list is already out, but the rest are yet to come out. I will not be reading plot summaries because this is something that I actually don't like doing myself, but I will give like a brief overview of what to expect with each of these books. I will also tell you the release date as well. This list is obviously non-exhaustive. It would be pretty hard for me, I think, to do an exhaustive list, in the sense that I can't possibly know every single book that's coming out this year, but these are the ones that are on the top of my radar and the ones that I will be keeping a very keen eye out for when they do release. And I will be going in chronological order. So with that in mind, let's kick off. So the first book that is already out, that came out on January 28th, is The Outcast Mage by Annabel Campbell. This is a story about a young mage who is exiled from her order and must essentially like navigate a very kind of politically fraught landscape to reclaim her destiny. From what I understand, this is extremely political. I think there is an element of coming of age with this story as well, which I always love. I am a big fan of mages. I like it as a concept. We don't get enough of it, I think, in modern fantasy. So I'm very excited to see how this author does it. I've heard generally very positive things about this book and the writing as well. So I'm psyched. I can't wait. I can't wait to pick it up. I do already own this one. I just need to find time to read it now. The next one is The River Has Roots by Amal El Motta. This comes out on March 4th. And this is like very lyrical, poetic fantasy that is very thematic driven. From what I can tell, there isn't like a ton of plot, or at least it hasn't been publicized yet, but it really focuses on the themes which are around love and nature and magic. And I do believe this is also across multiple timelines. I do believe the author has written books in other genres, but I don't think they have written any in fantasy. So I do believe this is a debut fantasy book. If anybody knows any different, do let me know down below in the comments to correct me. But I'm just super excited to read this sort of book because Simon Jimenez does this type of storytelling so well, and I'm keen to find more authors who also can do justice to that type of very unique storytelling that's very theme driven rather than like character driven or plot driven. So very excited to pick that up on March 4th. The next one is a self-published book, and this is a book that I've raved about on my channel. I think it was the year before last year. And that is the second book in the Sea of Souls series, with the second book being called Mists of Memory by N.C. Scrimgeour. I absolutely loved the first book. I loved it so much. I raved about it on my channel. It was a 5 stars. It was so good. Very much grimdark. The lore around it was around like Selkies, and it's like very like water focused because our main character loves the water. She loves the sea. She's like a sailor, I guess. And I just really enjoyed it. And I'm really excited to see where Scrimgeour goes with the second book. I'm really excited to see how her writing has evolved. I do actually have an arc for this book. The author kindly sent me a copy, and I will be actually reading it in the month of March. So I'm super psyched for that. Then the next one is the second book in a series that I actually haven't read yet, but I would really like to read the first book. And this, because I saw that the second book is coming out, it's actually reminded me to now go and read the first book. And that is The Tainted Khan by Taryn Matharu. And this comes out on April 22nd. The first book, I believe, came out the year before last. Don't quote me on it. But this is the second book in a series that blends historical fiction and fantasy fiction. And it's set in like a Mongol-inspired empire. I've noticed a lot of like Mongol-inspired fantasy historical fiction lately. I don't know why, but I'm here for it. I'm quite curious about that kind of period of history, and I do like it when we get historical fantasy. I do think it's such a unique niche that actually meshes two genres that work really well together. And so I'm almost certain that I will pick up the first book this year and like maybe even try to catch up and get to the second book this year as well, because it is a series that I'm really excited about. Taran Matharu has also written like a YA series, I think it was YA series before, that I believe was like around assassins, that I did actually own at one point, but once I'd kind of progressed in my fantasy reading journey, it kind of feel like maybe I was kind of past the YA assassin fantasy, but I'm keen to read his other stuff because I have actually heard quite good things about his writing, so I'm super, super excited for that. And then the next one is a heavy hitter. It's probably going to be the #1 book on most people's lists, and you probably guessed it by now, and that is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. This is coming out on May 13th. And this, from what I understand, very much dark fantasy, very much action-packed. It's basically like a bunch of criminals and misfits embarking on, I think it's a heist. I think there's like demons and all this kind of fun stuff in it as well. Literally everybody that I've seen on YouTube is reading this book. Everybody got arcs, apart from me, apparently. Even though I'm gonna name myself the #1 Joe Abercrombie fan. I'm joking. I would have loved to have got an arc, but it is what it is. I know and accept that I'm a very, very small creator, so it is what it is. But I am excited for it to come out. I probably won't read it immediately just because I will want the hype to die down, and I really don't want to hear anybody's opinion until I read it. I'm nervous. This is the book that I'm most nervous to read because, as you all know, if you've been watching my channel for a while, Joe Abercrombie is one of my favourite authors of all time. I love those books so much. First Law, The Standalones, Age of Madness. They are flawless books, in my opinion. I also have actually met the man himself. He's a lovely person as well. And we also have a lot of the same tastes. And I think that's why his books really resonate with me, because we consume a lot of the same media. He's also British. We have this very dry, sarcastic wit that he captures so well in his books. So I'm very excited. I'm very nervous. Let's see what happens. You know how it is, folks. Next up, we have a pretty heavy hitter, I think, but I've just never read any of her books, even though I see her name everywhere when it comes to like fantasy discourse. And that is The Witch Rose by Kate Elliott, with the book coming out on June 10th. For me, when I think of Kate Elliott, I think of like epic fantasy, wide sweeping worlds, like multitude of different characters. And I think this is also the case with this duology. The second book is, I believe, coming out in November. So it's not going to be a long wait time between the books. But I think this one is centered around 3 sisters who basically go on a journey that is kind of like leading them to their fates. And again, this is not something that I typically read in my everyday fantasy, but I'm quite intrigued. And I feel like because Kate Elliott is such a heavy hitter, I'm quite curious to see how one of the heavy hitters does like quite old school epic fantasy. Like that to me sounds like the plot of like very cool old school epic fantasy. And I quite like that we're seeing more and more of that again, but like with a modern feel to it. So I'm very excited to pick that up. I'm almost certainly going to read that duology this year, like as the books come out. But we will see, because as we all know, I am a mood reader, and who knows what my mood is going to be doing on June 10th. But I'm excited. I'm really curious as well. Like, I'm curious if anybody here who's watching this video is a fan of Kate Elliott. And if you are, let me know down below why, and if there's any other books of hers that you recommend. All right, we have a couple more. The next one is one that I'm really excited about. Like, probably one of the ones that I'm most excited about. And I've never heard of this author. I've never even heard of anybody talking about this book. So I'm even more excited, because that means that hopefully it's going to be quite underrated. And that is The Griffin King by Sara Omar. This is coming out on July 8th. I don't know if it's going to be a series, but this is, from what I understand, it's also quite like epic. It's like a grand tale of war, loyalty, and magic as a young person, a young leader, rises to power. But there's also like mythological creatures, and there's a lot of political intrigue, which to me sounds super interesting, because I don't read a lot of fantasy that has like myths and like mythological creatures in them, but the ones that I have read, I've really enjoyed. So I'm really curious about this book, and I'm quite curious about reading a new author to me as well, because I've never heard of this author. I've never read them before. No idea if this is their first book or their 10th book. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm really excited to learn more. Then we have Another book that I've also never heard of, and I've never heard anybody speak about, and never heard of this author either, which I always really like when like a new author comes onto my radar, and that is Blood Slaves by Marcus Redmond. This comes out on July 29th. Summer's going to be busy, folks. Summer's going to be busy. July 29th. And this is a vampire thriller, which I am not typically a fan of vampires. I'm kind of over it after like Twilight, to be honest. But Jay Kristoff, only author who's been able to make me interested in vampires in Empire of the Vampire. And I like vampires when they're actually really evil, like when they're actually dark and they're actually horrible people and they're really intelligent. Like, I like that version of vampires. And I've heard that the currency in this world is blood. And that is so interesting to me. Like, I think this might be grimdark, technically. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for this book. Again, I don't know if it's going to be a series or if it's a standalone, but either way, I don't really care. Like, I'm just really, really excited for it. All right, we've got 2 more left, and these 2 do not have release dates. One of them is definitely coming out this year, from what I've heard. The other one, I don't know if it's coming out this year, but I do just want to call it out in case it does come out because I love this series. But these 2 are also in series that I've started already. So the next one, and you might have already guessed it, is The Strength of the Few by James Islington. This is the second book. I think it's called the Hierarchy series, with the first book being The Will of the Many. This is the sequel. And I honestly think this is actually the book that I'm most excited for this year, like even slightly more than The Devils, because The Devils, I don't know what to expect. Whereas with this, I'm already familiar with the world, already familiar with the characters, already familiar with this author's writing style, and I like all of those things. I'm just so curious where this book is going to go. The ending of book 1 was absolutely wild. It was wild. I remember dropping the book and being like, what is happening here? I am so excited. I have a bunch of theories. I cannot wait for this book to come out. Hopefully we will learn more in the next kind of couple of weeks and months as to when it will be coming out, but definitely the one I'm most excited for. Can't wait. The last one is a book that hasn't been really announced, but I'm gonna, like I said, just put it on here for the sake of brevity, and that is the second Amina Al-Sarafi book, which is a series that I absolutely adore. The first book, absolutely love the first book. It was just amazing. Esra Chakraborty is an absolutely incredible author. I love every single book that I've read of hers, and I'm sure this one will not disappoint. We don't know when this one is coming out. I'm almost certain that it probably won't even come out this year, but like I said, we'll just add it because who knows? So there we have it. Those are the books that I'm most excited for that are coming out this year. Let me know down below in the comments if there are any books that you are particularly interested in, whether it's the books on this list or any others. Keep it to fantasy though, because I will be doing a sci-fi version of this list soon. So watch this space for that. Let me know the fantasy books that you're most excited for, and I will see you in the comments below. Thanks for watching, folks. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next one. Stay safe and take care. Bye.